So this isn't something we've seen in a while. It's something we haven't seen in a while, and I'm just going to cover some basics on form. So we all have this image in our mind about what the side view of a face looks like, and we draw within it. And we draw within those lines, and those lines are basically what guide us throughout the chaos into creating something that might read. When you do draw a side view, please do not draw representational line paintings. What you want to do is avoid the line as much as possible because you are losing 2 dimensions or 2/4 of the face. So 3/4 view we've got 3, front view we've got all 4. We've got the whole face, one whole. So 4 out of 4. The rear view, we're not seeing anything. We're not seeing the face. We're seeing the behind the face. We're not seeing any of them. So it's 0. Side view, we're only seeing 2. So we're missing 2 whole extra quarters. We're only seeing the 2 sides. And what happens with that is, is you get a very little compression. You get very little 3/4 view. You get very little help from perspective to really show that the object is 3-dimensional. So how do you show that this object is 3-dimensional? The first and foremost thing to do is avoid the line as much as possible, because you're just, at this point, you need to pull at straws to make sure you have as much 3-dimensional as possible, and as much of the 3D as possible. So using a line, at this point, you're just working backwards. What you need to do is try to compress everything as if it is sitting on top of a structure that we're seeing from the side. So we need to start compressing some stuff. And this compression isn't a perspective compression, it's an anatomy compression. We have to just think about how these lips, well, how much of these lips we're seeing. So when we do look at lips from the side, we don't see what we would see if we're looking down at the lips or up at the lips from front or quarter view. This means that some of the lip has to be compressed behind fat that is now present and in the way because of the side view. So the lip, if you measure it also the vertical lines, the lip should not go past either the inner corner of the eye or halfway through. It should not be bigger than that, because if the lip was this wide from side view, it would be really wide from front view. It would be like almost as wide as the eyes, and that, you know, that is an inversion of the triangle. So you need to avoid that. So the first thing to be wary of when you're doing side view is the lips. Make sure they're not too wide. If you guys write these down, you sort of won't forget. The next thing is the nostrils. Front view, we don't see the nostrils very much because we're looking forward and down. But side view, we get to see a little bit of the nostrils, because we're looking from the side. So we need to push down the nose just a little bit, because from the front we probably wouldn't see the nose as much. We need to expand the size of the nose upward, because again, we're looking from the side, so we see more of the nostril. The front of the nose isn't in the way anymore. The tip of the nose isn't hiding the nostrils anymore. We see the nostrils perfectly. That's what happens with side view. There's also the fact that the upper lip isn't as wide or as sort of voluptuous. Again, I don't know the word for plumpy lips. I don't know. Thick lips. Their density, we don't see it as much, again, because we're not looking from the front, we're looking from the side. So some of the dimension and the altitude of the lips kind of gets pushed down. Alright, so we fixed the nose. Now for the eyes. We don't see eyes as if we are, again, they also get compressed along the brow and the cheekbone. So brow bone gets compressed. Just ask yourself, where would you end the eyebrows if you were drawing from front view? So if you wouldn't end the eyebrows all the way down here, which is where you had it, if you wouldn't end the eyebrows all the way to beside the eye. So you had the eyebrow beside the eye. That's not how you do it if you were painting a face from front view. You would push the eyebrow up to have its own little space on top of the eyebrow bone. So what happens is, again, more compression. Again, it's not a perspective compression either. It is fat compression and structure compression. The structure of the face. So I'm not really, I need to tilt my head, like, I'm tilting my head right now. So that I could get this right. There's also the bulbousness of the head that needs to be pushed out, the forehead. And then there is the bridge of the nose that needs to be pushed out. And then we need to draw a lower eyelid. So before, after. We pushed everything along some brows. So instead of it looking like a drawing, we have brought in nostrils that are visible, lips that are not that wide, eyebrows that have their own space. And it kind of feels like her face is being stretched as her hair falls. So if you've ever, like, if a girl, one of you here, girl or boy has long hair and you tied your hair back, your skin gets pulled up. So your eyebrows go up. You get like a facelift. And that's what it feels like more of when you look up. She's looking up and gravity's affecting her her face. What the Jesus did I do? Okay, there we go. So before, after. Before, a little flat, as if it was like a side of a paper and you just cut it out of a paper, but now this is sitting on top of a surface. So this is just liquefy, this isn't lighting. What we need to do is bring in some lighting as well, correct the lighting. So I'm bringing in a darkened layer with the same tone you have, and I'm only going to erase away what I don't want. So the light is coming down that way. So the eyelid, I'm still trying to figure out where the light is coming from. Where's the light coming from in this image? You have no specific light source. It's bad news, man. I'm just going to pretend like it's coming from one direction here. And then the chin, and then I'm going to darken some more. Darken around half the face. And keep erasing what I don't want. Tops of the eyes and lower. I want to work around a structure. I want to sculpt. I don't want to just lay down color in between lines. I always want to think about sculpting. Okay, so I'm pushing this lip upward. See, you have that shadow in there that's just like unnecessary. So now we have to think about other areas in the face that require shadows. So we considered the lights, now we have to consider the shadows. And some of these shadows are below the cheekbone right here. And under the lip, under the nose. You can see the sculpture is already starting to emerge. I'm going to bring in some more shading around the eyes. She's got makeup on, so if you do want to bring in makeup, make sure you're bringing it in effectively. The eye makeup is pretty much the sort of anchor of makeup. The lashes, we get to see their altitude here. We're not looking forward at the lashes if the eye was facing us. Usually the lashes aren't visible in their full altitude. What we want to see is the full extension of the lashes from the side view, because that's sort of how, that's like the best angle to see lashes in, when they, especially when they're blinking down. So you can see the full extension of the lashes. Don't shy from that. And then we've got the lower eyelid, a little hint of it. Just under the eye. Just like that. And on the very top of the eye, there's going to be a little bulge where the light touches. And that's pretty much what we shade, what we bring the light in. Even if she has dark eyeshadow makeup on, it'll still show through. And makeup enlarges the eye, so if you ever do feel like the eye isn't beautiful enough, give makeup a chance to enlarge the eye for you. And I'm placing the light of the brow bone just over here. Just at the part where the eyebrow and the brow bone both get illuminated because of the light. And the very end of that eyebrow, that's the darkness. As it goes back into being dark, it steps away from the light. I'm going to bring in some textures for the eyebrow. Don't forget to texture the brows that you guys paint. They're also, their hair, and they need their own texture. 1 second, please. The reason, Mina Sauzier, that you might have trouble with the brow bone is because maybe you're trying to combine both the brow bone and the eyebrow in the same step. The thing that you can do is separate those two steps. Find the core lights and the core shadows of the brow bone system on a skeletal level first. And then go in and, hey Bass, and then go in and, or Bass, and then bring in the eyebrow. And make sure the eyebrow respects the eyeshadows of that area, or the eyebrow shadows of that area. So I am using soft brush. So that's going to be a problem. I just need to sharpen that out. I'm going to use a hard edge brush and get the shape of the nose out. Those are areas you have to edge out. Areas of cartilage and bone, those don't get fuzzy. You don't fuzz those out. So try not to combine these areas here. Just like this. Gonna give the nose a little bit more of a shape. And you see at this point we're sculpting. We're thinking about how all of this sits on some sort of shape, some sort of cube. So avoid drawing from your memory in the fact that you're drawing what you think a side view looks like, and then you're letting some realism bleed in. Do it the other way around. Get the realism in first, get the basic structure in first, and then let some of your imagination bleed in. Don't let your imagination govern the anatomy and the realism and the sciences of your image, because what will happen is your image will suffer and will not look good. Let sciences do the sciences. Let take care of the form, take care of the structure. There's a lot of science, and if you don't think that, if you don't think there isn't science in art, then you're extremely misguided. There is a lot of science that we observe and reproduce visually when we're drawing. So as soon as you accept that, you'll sort of accept that extra step you have to take when thinking about the sculpture, thinking about the object that you're sculpting right now. Don't see it anymore as a human face or anatomy. For the moment, and those first couple strokes you throw in, those first rough strokes where your brush is the largest, consider the shape as not a human but a building. That'll help you come to terms with the fact that there is going to be a lot of form and a lot of the sculpture and the 3D structure you're going to have to show as you paint. Alright, I'm going to bring in a yellow-based light. I'm going to throw that over. Not everywhere, just in the areas that are lit up. Carry that down. There's going to be a need for dark spots. Now her face seems a little bit more real to me. And that's what we want. We want to stay away from the lines. There's also a problem with her head shape. I'm just going to push down the extension of that head shape there. And I'll show you the before and after in a second. So filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. The hair is beautiful, by the way. It's amazing. Great job on the hair. Great distribution of smaller and larger pieces. I like the way you did the lighting. The braid. It reads beautifully. Good job. And then after. Before, it was flat. You did the hair so three-dimensionally, and then it came to the face and you just drew lines. Why did you settle for lines? When I know for sure I'm looking right at it, your capability of creating something that looks like it has dimension. You threw the lights everywhere they needed to be. But over here you had actual lines surrounding the face. Why? I took them out and sort of created a more structure the face can sit on. There is still a bit more to sort of fix when it comes to the nose and the shape of the nose you had originally. I would have to just change it completely. I didn't want to move too much away from the likeness of what it is you drew, but there wasn't much likeness, there wasn't much believability in your version of the face. Her mouth is kind of open, so you might want to show some teeth or something. But before, see, it feels like a stamp. It feels like you brought in a magazine cutout over real hair. Over here we're actually following some light sources. Right, so let's continue. I'm just going to throw in some more shadows. And there's a problem with the neck. Careful of the Adam's apple. Girls don't have those. This shade, this line right here, you place this line here because that's how you draw. That's the lines, those are the lines that you have when you draw a face, an outline around the face, right? Well, you shouldn't have that when you're sculpting. You don't need lines anymore. You use shades and shadows and lights. So what we could do to separate the neck is bring in that surrounding glow. Let me just get the jaw out and the cheekbones. I feel like there should be a light around here somewhere. It's because you have these little strings in the way. I can't really combine them very well. Let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, it was a collaboration. Okay. Makes sense. Specify, though, which areas were yours in the collaboration, which areas weren't, so that I don't get on your butts about what happened. bring this back up. So if you learn how to sculpt a house, if you learn how to sculpt a car, you can sculpt a face. That's miles ahead of someone who just started drawing faces or is really good at drawing faces or knows the organic patterns of faces, but has never drawn a car. You're already ahead of them simply because you know how to put a building together. You know how to build something. You know the angles at which something needs to be built. You know the perspectives. And I'm not sure who made this, but it's genius. These perspective lines, learning how to do these shapes, these help you understand these. I'm not sure who drew this, honestly. I need a name. But it was linked in class. These help you understand these. So if you can build a face, look at the structure by which these faces are built when they draw side view. They're still thinking about the three-dimensional. They're still thinking about the underwiring or the three-dimensional when they're drawing a face from the side. Nothing is exempt from form. Yes, you don't see the other two quarters of the face, but they're still there, and they still influence what we see on this side. And again, if you don't know any of the anatomy in that area, if you're not familiar with the anatomy of that area, please pick up a reference. A reference will guide you. It will help you record more accurate knowledge of the visual in your visual library of anatomy, and you'll avoid recording sort of unsuccessful anatomy. Let's call it unsuccessful anatomy, which is anatomy that you think is real, but it's only real in your head. It does not function in real life. And that's pretty much any anatomy that you render around a line. So it's not a big jump, but it's definitely closer to something believable, something that matches the realism of the hair that you've got here. Alright, so let's correct these colors. As I was saying, the values are too low. So we literally can fix these colors here just by doing this. Of course, we can't just lighten, we have to saturate and lighten. And we have to also bring in some color corrections. So light sources all have yellows in them. And darks all have cool reds and purples in them. So we have to do exactly that. We have to make sure that after we've lightened the values up, because the values you had here were too dark. And even though, yes, people can come in to be this color shade, their highlighters don't reach this high. Their highlighters are much lower. So let's choose a skin highlighter color for this. I'm gonna paint it as if it's a basic neutral olive, so it's not Caucasian and it's not dark. It's just something in between. Opacity is low, and I'm going to place that yellow over all the areas that the light touches. I'll erase what I don't need. But remember, it's vital to have high values. I'm not talking about high contrast. I'm just talking about values that are high enough to allow the skin color to come through. And skin is again, I have a tutorial about this where I talk about the layers of skin and how they influence and how skin is transparent. Or translucent, actually, my bad. Be careful on the shades you have on either side of the nose. Those are most of the time overrated. Please don't place any shades there. Areas under the eye are a little bit more lit up, and you've got these almost purple, almost green shades down here. Replace those with a skin color. Okay. Thank you for telling me, Kuro. Alright. So that's done. Those skin tones are needed and they're yellow based. Because what they do is they reflect the transparency, the yellow pigment of the skin, and the yellow color in the light source. And the value, as you can see, keeps going up. The value here keeps going up because skin needs that level. If you want this girl to be darker, these shades here have to be darker. They cannot go that light. You putting those lighter shades in for me told me a different story about her skin tone, where her skin tone, the ethnicity of her skin tone. You told me that you were trying to go for like a sort of Caucasian kind of skin tone. So merge down, merge down. Now I can literally get the burn tool and burn everything that I want to be dark back down. So I can burn this area here. I can burn the nose and the nostrils for the dark spots and the tips of the lips. If you want to make lips look like they're part of the face, please blend the edges in, or else it'll keep looking like the lip is cut out of a magazine and you placed it in. You literally can just blend it just like this. The lip will feel more like it's part of the skin, part of the face, part of the bigger system. It does not have to be perfectly lined. Lipstick, lip liner, let me show you. Lip liner. Images. This is what lip liner does. It forces a separation between those two, between the skin and everything else. This, in my opinion, is really bad makeup. I mean, this is making a point, so this is supposed to be not connect. This when you go black, you sort of purple with skin with lipstick. You kind of know you're doing it. This is pretty much what lip liner is not supposed to do. Lip liner is supposed to make the lipstick apply on a little bit easier. It's supposed to create a darker, sort of more clean edge when you're bringing in. Look at this. What the fuck? When you're bringing in red lips. But we're not painting makeup here, and we're not painting red lips. We're painting neutral colors. And you typically just do not want to create that hard of an edge because it is visible in real life. It's visible. You can tell from a mile away that girl has really odd looking lips, and most of the time people are lining their lips all wrong. So that little lesson on lipstick out of the way. Please make sure that if you want to create natural looking characters who don't always look like they're wearing lipstick, who you can create objects that don't have makeup on, paintings that don't have makeup on, or people that don't have makeup on, blend the skin tones together. Let me show you a nude lip. What a nude lip looks like. Okay. So a nude lip makeup. Look at that combination of shades. Very, very close to the lipstick. Look at that. Almost the same shade. You barely see the line. It's very tapered. She has such a pretty face. Nude lip. This is what you should be learning before anything. You should be learning the nude lip. Don't make your default lip that you always know how to draw whenever you have to do a character design or ever have to do a portrait or ever have to do anything. Please make sure that you don't make your default lip the dark lip or the red lip. It does not work well later for you. Do you guys hear me and see me? Is it still off? I think it's Twitch. I'm really not sure. I think it's Twitch. Am I still off? Oh no. Okay, so I gotta keep going at least because I'm gonna post this on YouTube. Maybe you guys can catch it here as well. Sorry about the disconnect. Okay, so I'm just going to keep combining these shades together, blending here and there, tapering off the shadow the further it moves away from the face. And now I'm going to bring in those red purples. Again, don't go to the purple, just go through red first. Sometimes just going a little bit lower and bringing this kind of red, which has more purple than this. Definitely, it's more orange. And this hasn't even hit the purples and it's got more purples in it. Sometimes that's all you need to do. And I'm just placing those reds in the shadows here on a new layer, and I'll erase away as I need it. And all the shadowed areas, I'm bringing in that red. And then my eraser will just erase away what I don't need. Okay, so let's look at the before and after. The skin feels a lot more real and a lot more alive and a lot more sun-touched. We still have that same sort of vampiric girl happening that you had before, but this time it's a little bit more believable. The skin is actually feels dewy and reflective because we built up the shine. We didn't have the shine everywhere in one spot. We built it up. The values went up a little bit. If you don't want that vampiric look, it's not a matter of color anymore, it's just a matter of her cheeks being too sunken in. Sometimes overstated cheekbones really kill a character. Sort of throw them off into one genre of portraiture. I'm going to bring that cheek color right down towards the lips. And she looks a little bit less vampiric than before. Of course, you don't have to have that. You can also darken the eye darks back down. The dark spots of the eye, you can darken those back down and it'll still work because those are areas that can still be dark and not affect the color scale or the gray scale under the colors. Also, if you want to give off the feeling of moisture in the eyes, just blend away the edges of the pupil where the water usually sits, which is the lower half. And if you really want to push the realism, get an acidic pink that is more purple than red, and place that on all the areas that require that kind of pink in the face. So down here on the waterline, on the inner tear duct, in that well. And on the eye itself. And if you have a color for eyes, take that color off into the actual areas, the whites of the eye, make that bleed in there. Eyes like to take shortcuts. So before, after, we kind of made her look younger. If you do want to bring those cheekbones back in, well, you know what to do. You just raise those shadows back up. I would find a sort of middle ground in between those two extremes. Okay. My friends are telling me that it's a sign to get better. That the reason why Twitch has glitched out on us. Right now I'm not live for those on YouTube. It's just a rest. I am rested. I have fun and I look forward to these critiques every week. I'll at least have a video to post up for you guys. I'm going to bring in the darks just one more time and just darken these areas here because there is a little bit of makeup. Oopsie, that's too much. And I'm going to raise these eyes so they don't seem, whoopsie, they don't seem like zoned out. I'm going to make them look up just a little bit. Look forward. I got the lower eyelids. Need to be pushed down a little lower. And then finally I'm going to bring in the blush. And blush can be a combination of makeup. It can be all kinds of reasons why this person has blush. Whatever it is, make sure you're not placing too much. Whatever the results, whatever the reason why this person has blush, make sure you're not overdoing it. And it travels along between the shadow and the light. That's where the blush hovers. It's kind of like a mid-tone bleeding into the highlight. A little bit on the under the eyebrows, a little bit on the lips. A little bit on the nose. Again, don't overdo it. A little bit does a lot. As for her actual face, see, it's starting to look more and more real. Her kind of skin, her face in particular, it might need a little bit of green on the lower areas of the eye because her skin seems a bit fair or thin, and that green will really bring it to life. And finally, her nose is a little bit long. So I'm just going to push it up, back. Before her nose is a little bit long. I need to zoom out. I will not do that again without zooming out. Okay. And now let's look at the before and after. Before, after. The skin feels a lot more alive. So I'm just working out of one sort of ethnicity here. I do cover other ethnicities and what you should do with different kinds of skin tones from different cultures or ethnicities. And I do have the video on that available for you guys. Right now I'm just sculpting the face, making sure core shadows are still in place and stuff like that. But please prepare your colors beforehand. This doesn't seem like you prepared your colors. I feel like you sort of just went full on after you grayscaled. You just jumped in. Please prepare your colors and act like that's the color I want to be at. So yeah, you painted in grayscale and you have to use color correction layers and color modes. But still have the palette you want to end up having beside you so that you know what you're aiming at. Or else you're going to have muddy looking skin for the rest of your art career, and that's not good. Skin feels more alive. It's a combination of greens and pinks and beiges and purples and reds and oranges and whites and yellows. All of that is what goes into skin. That's how you make skin look realistic. And that's that. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. This is why I kept recording so that you guys can come in and catch it after class is done. So I'll be posting this on YouTube for you guys. Thanks everyone for coming. Have a great day. Bye bye.